All right, so we got an album here. Panopticon is the artist, and the album name is Kentucky. It's an album from 2012. The message here is full album, says Alexandra G, which, by the way, huge thank you, Alexandra G, single handedly carrying the whole stream. This album fuses black metal with American folk music slash bluegrass, with lyrics revolving around the history of band's home state of Kentucky. Oh, I see. Of the band's home state of Kentucky. In particular, its violent labor struggles. Oh, hope you enjoy. That's intense. Would you rather have DJ Khaled R&B album, only his vocals, or a Ye and Kate Bush 2-hour-long mixtape? Reverb? What the fuck? I'm not answering that. That is the worst question I've ever heard in my entire life. Without a doubt. That's pretty terrible. All right, album time. Yeah, so going into this album, considering the fact that I'm told that it's black metal and that the lyrics play a big role, I'm nervous that I will not be able to pick up on everything and that a lot will disappear. I'm hoping, mostly since it is black metal, for a strong sense of atmosphere, which usually there is. Not at all worried about these long track lengths, like 10 minutes or 12 minutes, because I feel like this kind of music is something that benefits with just sort of marinating in the darkness of all of it. So, excited to hear where those go, because actually I'd say, yeah, those are the tracks I'm most excited about. In terms of the song names, I mean, the final one ending is literally Kentucky is the name of it, which is where the band's from and where a lot of this is about. So it might kind of all narratively lead to the final song here. Which would be really cool. Killing the Giants as They Sleep is the name of the longest song here, which I think is a very fascinating name. And actually, all the names are pretty cool. Pretty interesting, like Black Suit and Red Blood. Bodies Under the Falls. All right, it's kind of like if they are talking about bodies that are alive, that's kind of a morbid way of putting it. Anyways, let's go with the first song here. It is called Bernheim Forest in Spring. Here we go. You see like a kid and a miner. A miner. A miner and a miner. Well, I hear what he's talking about with the kind of bluegrass American folk. Wow. Okay. This is a one-man project. Wait, this is all one guy? Wait, this is all one guy? Including what I'm listening to right now? How many hands does he have? No, for real. Guy must be an octopus. Put on Family Guy. Money Eye? I'm going to pause real quick to say that the intro is great at setting the tone. I like to imagine specifically like an old mining town in Kentucky, considering that, like, you know, with the picture and everything, that's sort of what I pictured as like, you know, something kind of dusty and old, you know, but still like rich with culture. And the fact that it transitions immediately into like the most intense part of this album it possibly could says a lot, but also at the same time, the blend of the background, like you hear the doo 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 doo. There's like a certain almost kind of what is it? What's the word? Woodwindy like instrument sort of playing in the back that kind of sets like is like the one bit of color kind of holding together everything right now. Or was there? Recorders were tuned way sharp. This is pretty trippy. Supposed to hear the lyrics like this. Reminds me so much of Sunbather. Sunbather, though, is like more of a kaleidoscopic album, you know? Like, there's a lot of bright colors and, you know, to all of it, but like emotionally and creatively, it's already kind of like scratching the same itch. Reminds you of Deaf Heaven, but mostly because you recently listened to them. So did I, so maybe I'm in the same boat. It's really interesting that this is a black metal album. The song seems to be about like the dead washing up on shore. And it's talking about how it's like silent and quiet. The same. It's like still, I guess. The land is like where ghosts roam. Imagery in these lyrics is insane. It's really good. But also, it's hard to follow along with. Dude, imagine doing every instrument by yourself and then fading out. Fading out. Oh. Keeps that recorder. Like the one part. So here's what I think. I think that the recorder is the ghosts. I think that's like the representation specifically of the ghosts that's mentioning throughout this project that are kind of like on the land already, where the bodies sort of pass up to. It's where the ghosts and gals, the ghosts at the gals roam. Basically, it says are where the rocks below. That's where they're at. I loved what I heard here. I do think that like you can still kind of hear the roughness of like everything being played together. Specifically, sometimes the drums will feel like they're getting a little ahead of themselves. Rushing or dragging. A little bit of rushing, or even sometimes dragging. All right, but like that's very small for a song that I feel like is this like interesting and rewarding for somebody to like go through and pay attention and find stuff on their own. Yeah, this is a powerful start. I really like this. Give it a solid 8. I think that it works narratively. I think that like it works even if you don't know what the lyrics are narratively, like because I think the way the song like progresses is incredibly creative. And yeah, provides like a lot of rewards, and I think the screaming sounds great underneath everything. You know, the pain and chaos of the instrumental mixed with lyrics also that are I feel like are not focused on shock but rather imagery. You know, gives this thing so much like artistic merit and like power. So yeah, this thing is pretty great so far. All right, next song. Let's see where it goes. It's called Come All Ye Coal Miners. Is Q paused? Yep.
Come all you coal miners.
It'll be unpaused soon.
Listen to the story that I'll relate to thee.
Oh, wow.
My name is nothing extreme, but the truth you all tell. I am the coal miner's son. I'm sure I wish you well. I was born in old Kentucky, in a coal camp born and bred. I know about the pinto beans, bulldog gravy, and cornbread. I know how the miners slave and work in the coal mines every day. $4 at the company store, for that is all they pay.
Oh. Damn, it's like straight up folk.
It's a commodity business. Every penny that they have to spend for safety, for wages, for health care, or anything like that is money that they see coming directly out of their pocket. And you know, the history of coal mining is very clear on this. It's not a subtle thing. You know, this is an industry that views workers as disposable and views the landscape as disposable. And it's all about getting the coal out of the ground as quickly and as cheaply as possible.
So weird going back and forth between black metal and folk. I feel like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This kind of was something that I feel like leans so heavily into folk, but it kind of has a purpose of giving you the narrative that, you know, the way that the coal miners are treated is extremely unfair and horrible. And I think that this is probably the way they could have gotten it across the best, especially as a black metal artist, you know. Like, to strip all of that back and basically say, hey, like, I'm a coal miner, here's me playing that up, and this is pretty much what happens to me. This is what happens around me, and this is why it happens. Which I feel like was a rich piece of knowledge, but I don't know if I necessarily love the song itself, just because it's not really my thing, but I also respect it a lot and would still give it a smiley ball, even if it's like... Not a sound I care for all that much. Black Soot and Red Blood. Black metal and folk is already a thing. It's a lot more normal in Europe. Big space. Guys in Lexington before they were big.
actually. Well, finally, we got to a stage where we figured that, well, we were going to strike. That was when I learned my first real political lesson about what happens when you take a position against the coal operators, against the capitalists. Well, the first thing that happened, the union officials came to us and told us we'd have to go back to work, that we were violating the agreement. We said, to hell with the agreement, we're going to stay out and strike until we get our demands. Well, then the politicians began visiting us and putting pressure on us. Then the parish priests. Well, finally, the coal company did agree to meet with us. And they agreed to raise the hourly pay from 6 and a fraction cents to 8 cents an hour.
8 cents an
We
hour?
got big concessions today. That wouldn't mean anything. That's only peanuts. But it meant a whole lot to us in our paycheck at that period. Well, this was my first lesson that if you stuck to yourself, stuck to your organization, and stuck together in solidarity, you could defeat them. Besides that, I learned that the politicians worked with the coal companies. I found out that the union officials were working with the coal companies. I also found out that the Catholic hierarchy was working with the coal officials. Here was a combination of the whole thing, see, that you had to pump up against the whole combination. When the coal and iron police would find out who was trying to instigate a union, well, they'd accuse them. The miners figured, well, the only way they could fight back was to abuse them, pay them for what they were doing. So they began to use them violently in retaliation of the violence that was being used against them. This kind of a struggle went on to such a degree that there was many of the mine foremen getting killed. There was many of the police getting killed. First, there was many miners getting killed. And it was a regular guerrilla warfare. This was some of the early ideas of guerrilla warfare that developed out of that kind of struggle.
This shit is reminding me of like Godspeed right now, with like the sample tying into the song and it all like being like pushed as a message. It's really Godspeed. Yeah, X-Nox. I remember when I used to only make 8 cents. Really good. It's a masterpiece. It kind of is. I agree. song. The great counterpoint to some of the far-right black metal.
Police brutality.
I'm ready to die. Are you?
Dude, I'm feeling a 9, solid 9, 9 plus. I think that was everything I was like looking for from this album without even knowing I was looking for it. Like that's so good. Like narratively, like the way that it all ties together, the sound is like larger than life. It's cinematic, but it works. The fact that they were able to compose something that sounds this good, you know, and like play the, like they had like the song stop halfway through, you know, and like just played a sample, and it like supplied so much context for not only this song, the entire album so far. The way that it continues the journey is, it's masterful. So, very, very good song. I'm extremely satisfied with this track. Yeah, wow. Wow.
Come all you poor
Next song, Which Side Are You On?
Good news to you I'll tell of how that good old Union has come in here to dwell. Which side are you on? 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 Which side are
Another folk cover?
Which side are you on? We're starting up our battle. You know we're sure to win because we've got the gun thugs looking pretty thin. Which side are you on? 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 They say in Harlan County there are no neutrals there. You'll either be a Union man or vote for J.H. Blair. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
This is such a creative album. Seriously. Like, it feels so rich. So much to pull from this.
Which side are you
I'm just gonna say that the flow of this album is kind of terrible, like objectively. could be a Cardi sample. Could be. Cardi knew how to make good music anymore. Only 23,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. That's a lot. That's a lot of monthly listeners. It just, if you compare it to someone like Drake, it's going to seem small. Shira has 2.3 million monthly listeners. Is it just because of their live performance? It's just releasing something new. I still haven't heard her last album.
Joe, and walked down into Lincoln,
here in Eastern Kentucky, we have managed to survive mining of gold by basically deep mining. But I'm here tonight to tell people I'm not here about taking anybody's job or all that stuff. I'm here to say that deep mining is bad enough, but this destructive method of getting coal from our mountains of Eastern Kentucky, it's not the way to go. Instead of taking those profits out of these mountains, why didn't they use
John Becker was a session violinist for this album. Austin played every other instrument himself, and Colin Marston from something, I don't know what that is, Crowless, did the mixing and mastering. He did a good job with mixing and mastering, you know, individual songs. They barely work together. Black Waters appears to be an extension of the previous song, so I'm gonna play through. There's a lot of reverb. Arizona, thank you. I believe the black waters are like polluted, water through someone's crops and whatnot. He's saying that he would, if he had the money or means to be in any other situation, he would. I like that this is something that like fits the black metal aesthetic that's been going on instead of like completely sidestepping it. I think this one blends in better than a lot of other tracks that do this same thing on this album. But also I like the fact that Black Waters is, I don't know, like it becomes more of an ominous tale and sounds very ghostly due to the extreme reverb of it, to where it's almost incomprehensible without reading along with it. In terms of this song, Black Waters and Killing the Giants as They Sleep, I feel like both kind of complement each other very well, and I would give it as a whole a smiley ball. Now, I still preferred the way that it went about, like the narrative and placing it in with Black Suit and Red Blood, but I still think Killing Giants as They Sleep is pretty good for the penultimate track on the ears specifically. Like, I think that it sounds like some of the best music of this entire project. Like, there's like genuine hits of Euphoria I feel like it will consistently run across, but I'm not as invested in the writing of the song itself as much as I am the atmosphere, and maybe that's my fault. Maybe that's kind of why I lost some of the overall like the immersion. That's what it is. Yeah, I lost some of the immersion, but I also at the same time think that I don't know, this project's doing a pretty good job of bouncing me back in. Like even with this song Black Waters, I felt right back in it and right back into the narrative. Specifically, another angle looking at the mining district and the destruction and damage that it's causing to not just the miners, but those around in its entirety. So, yeah, very good. All right, final song is called Kentucky. The Gene Ritchie cover.
Mother of God, it's all toilet sounds.
You need a truck that's built tough like you. The trash beat contest? Is that what this song makes you think? Oh, fun little outro. It's kind of ending the same way that it started, just instrumentally, you know? But it actually does matter. Like, it does really matter to the overall experience. Just kind of sandwiching this whole thing between two pretty traditional, like, you know, bluegrassy instrumental pieces. For an album that I feel like has so much more darkness beneath the surface. And what better way to show that than to be black metal, of all things? To kind of show the underlying pain and, like, reality of the situation of the mining. And I feel like these the starting track and the ending track almost feel like these false flags, like showing you, hey, look at this, isn't it all grand and pretty and wonderful? But then, like, you get into the meat and potatoes of the album, and it's like disturbed, it's dark. The lyrics are talking about people washing up on shore, talking about the land being basically like cultivated for farming, or not farming, mining, like, you know, like the mountains and whatnot, like everything being taken over by corporations, and the way that they're done dirty. It's like all tied into the sound of this project. And I think a lot of it is deliberate in where and why it chooses certain things. I think the three big songs that are all the black metal, you know, moments of this album are all great. I think they all work very well. I think that everything in between is kind of like conditional, and kind of, again, like hints towards looking the other way in a sense, besides like Black Waters, which feels like this additional tale that's like tacked on to killing giants as they sleep. Yeah, I like this a lot. I'm feeling a 7 plus 8 minus. I ended up getting more of an experience out of this than I expected, and I am curious if, like, I don't know, like, I was looking at the lyrics. I think that the lyrics, like, watching and following along with them really helps and really contributes to, like, feeling what this album is going for. Because it is, like, something that you could just, like, feel the vibe to, but then it's just, oh, why is it, you know, this flashy little bluegrass instrumental, you know, in between, like, metal, and it's like, oh, I don't get it, I don't understand. But, like, the more you kind of figure out what's happening here, and that the more it feels like this album is like a piece of history, and it's trying to be a piece of history. And I think that it does a really good job at doing that. Better than a lot of albums I hear in general at doing that. Yeah, so happy I got to hear another good atmospheric black metal album. Like, I feel like so soon after Sunbather. It's nice. I appreciate it. So I want to thank you again so much, Alexandra G, for sending this in. This was great, amazing. Definitely a strange one for me, at least. Like, just because of all the blends, but like it made sense in the end. It all worked out. Like, it all really worked. All right, sweet. I guess we just move on. Is a Black Gaze album? I don't think it was a Black Gaze album.